Okay. So something's going on with the sint16. So this is just asking for the size. It should return 2, and this should work. Wait, what's the problem? Effect entity. Is there a short star somewhere? That might be this guy. No, I don't know. I really don't know. Here's the error. Cannot initialize a parameter of type S with an L value of void star. It says line 62. Ah, this is void star. It needs to be sint16 star. This only takes stereo sint16 star. So trying to build again. There was this other warning, process sound internal not found. Defaults to ID, which is a little scary. But it's here, right? Process sound internal. There's no weird spelling errors. There's no definition here. Yeah, you know what? We can even just define that to do nothing by default. And then nothing effect stays true to its name. Whoa, what happened? It's not that big of a deal if it just won't copy and paste. Okay, so maybe when you do nothing it does a pass through. I'm still not sure. I don't know if you can make a class pure virtual. Impossible to instantiate in Objective-C. And then, yeah, I'm not so interested in making that happen right now. But let's try compiling again. Build succeeded. Great. One thing I want to do now is we want to make some sounds using our effects. So what I recommend, but shit, we still need that other class we need a new sound class to take these new buffers. Yeah, well, one thing at a time. So new class we have to do in the Xcode manager. New class is called this will be a filter sound class. It could even be an input buffer sound. Let me take a quick look at input buffer sound. I'm curious. We're going to have to reference that anyway. So it doesn't have anything in it really, just this write to buffer call. Has nothing really to do with the buffers except for these indexing, and this is just for playback. So actually that part is very useful, but it's not general enough because input buffer is of a different format. Yeah, so I'm just going to create a very similar class, and I'm going to call it It's not an input buffer, but it's a buffer. Filter buffer sound. How do you like that? So filter buffer will just be the generic name for buffer, but buffer sound is a little ambiguous. But filter buffer is the native buffer. Does that make sense? And it won't be a subclass of effect entity, it will be a subclass of filter sound. Yes, please. And you can save in the class file, class folder. I wish it would just do this by default. It keeps saving things in weird places, which is why I have all these weird folders. Or maybe I did that, I don't know. Okay, so we've got the file created. So on the right side, let's just start implementing them. This should be pretty quick. I'm optimistic. So all we're going to do is do a big copy and paste. We only need, yeah, up from there. Like that. Like that. Like that. Yeah. So the only difference is we'll need filter buffer, and just write the note. Even put it. Please assume 16-bit int stereo interleaved. Okay. And we will need the struct filter buffer. That's pretty much it. Now let's look at the implementation for both. Input buffer sound.mm, and oh, you know what? Our file is not an file. It sucks when you forget to do this and you commit something to source control. But now it's an file, and we're much better off. Only problem is you have to now type obj tab because Emacs doesn't detect the mode, this Objective-C mode on an file. Okay, so we're just going to, there's actually a longer file than I thought. Okay, so I'm going to take the library calls. Yeah, we'll probably need them. Put them up top. Then I'll take the actual code files, the code calls. It's my Hawaii accent. Hawaii/Asian American accent. You know what that sounds like? Comes out in words like cold and old. Instead of, I mean, I'm trying right now to say it the standard way, but I guess the Hawaii or Asian American accent that I don't know if it's a real accent, but I kind of picked this up. It's old. It's more like O-U-W-D instead of old. The L kind of gets softened a little bit. I definitely notice when I'm watching local TV. Okay. Anyway, we've got our copy, and I don't think there's any reference to input buffer sound at this point. But on the other side, we need a filter entity for this. And we don't have a filter entity yet that can handle this kind of sound. I wonder what happens if you just pass null. Because you don't necessarily need an entity. Let me look at how this part is defined in filter sound, the superclass. So init with, yeah, we don't do any. We do a e retain. That sucks. Well, you know, we can just do a check here if it equals null or not, or nil. Yeah, but there might be a bunch of places where we just assume that it has something. Let's check. Nah, not really. I mean, yeah. Looks like we could get away with just checking for null. Because this sound isn't going to be... Wait a minute. What's going on? I think I need the entity before I have the sound. I can't figure this one out. Yeah, I take it back. It's the entity that I need. I will need this buffer sound eventually. Let's see. Yeah, just having a sound. Yeah, it's not gonna matter. So, other option is that I simply don't use this init with entity method and use another one, just init raw. But what I'm thinking is we're going to need the entity. No, an entity is a visual object. A sound is an... Ooh, this is like sounds that go in circles, which is a little scary. Do we have any pretty drawings that could help us out? Yeah, see, we have the entity, so this entity will be the visual part. Wow, looks like my computer's crapping out. Yeah. Well, we're almost there. We've got most of what we need. I'm going to keep the same structure as voice entity and have the sound only be created when it's needed. The real question is when to deref. I need my notes. No, I don't. When to deref the buffer from the effect entity. So I'm just going to go ahead and complete this class. But notice that we need to replace voice entity with something. But